saí de São Miguel com ensino secundário. Tive francês, tive inglês. E o inglês falado aqui não foi o que aprendi lá. E eu tive que frequentar aqui o 12º ano em Newport, no Rogers High School. E vou-te dizer que os filmes, eu compreendia pouco, os filmes americanos é uma linguagem, mas o noticiário americano ajudou-me muito a ouvir a pronúncia do noticiário americano e aprendi muito, a desenvolver muito a pronúncia. Portanto, é bom para ti ouvir o noticiário de Portugal, a RTP Internacional, vais ouvindo e vais aprendendo. É um professor, tens um professor em casa.
Now, I had been a police officer. I started as a police officer in 1993. And I thought to myself, I'd like to get involved in a bigger capacity here in East Providence, which was my new home. And I became involved in different organizations, Portuguese organizations and other organizations. We had the Portuguese American Police Association that was a branch that was here that we started. Mãe, how are you?
Nice to see you. Eu sempre gostei da polícia, desde o fim. Ele gostava muito daqueles bonequinhos que a polícia está a tiros, Ele tinha aquelas coisinhas, sempre gostou daquilo, sempre gostou. E eu penso que aquilo vem no sangue, porque do lado da minha avó, o meu bisavô era o chefe da polícia em Ponta Delgada. E o irmão da minha avó também era polícia em Ponta Delgada. Eu penso que ele vê puxando o sangue daqui do nosso lado, do meu lado.
This was in 1995. I remember I was a police officer in Pawtucket. I had been on a job for 2 years. I was a patrolman. I was on the highway. I had to close the highway because the President of the United States, William Jefferson Clinton, was coming to visit the Portuguese Social Club. And I'll never forget that. I was like sitting out there on the top of the bridge, and we shut it all down. The motorcade came by, and the president at the time was visiting the Portuguese Social Club. He was actually on the campaign trail for Congressman Patrick Kennedy. So this club has, not only did it turn 100 years old this past year, it also has a lot of historical significance in the progress of the Portuguese community here, but also the fact that we had a sitting president make a special visit here is something to be very proud of.
He worked for the DEA for a little while, and that was stressful. Now, sometimes he would get a phone call and have to leave the house, in the middle of the night. When he was a detective, that was stressful.
Quando ele foi de ativo, ele foi undercover. Undercover é que eu tinha muito medo. Ele foi polícia undercover, you know what I mean? Aí é que eu tinha medo, porque na realidade aquilo é tudo, ele está trabalhando entre pessoas, drug dealers e coisas assim, não sabe? Aí eu tinha muito medo.
I've come from 25 years of law enforcement. I rose to the level of being a captain. And I've always tried to do things the right way for the betterment of our job, right? The betterment of the community. And I think that really prepared me well for what I have to do today. I mean, I'm just doing it on a bigger scale now, okay? As a captain, I was managing many people underneath me. Now I'm managing much more, but that training that I've had over those years of how to interact with people, even from when I was a young patrolman, because don't forget, as a young patrolman, I go to a house and I have two people fighting. I've got to find a way to calm those two people down and come up with a solution so that everyone's happy, right? And I could not have run for mayor if I was still a police officer today, because it's a full-time job being a police officer, and it's a full-time job being a mayor. So I did retire from my position after 25 years as a police captain, and this is now my full-time job. And it's much more than a full-time job. I'm putting in many, many more hours than I expected, but I love it. I absolutely love it.
He received a few phone calls from people, encouraging him to run, and he talked to me, and I said that I would support him 100%. Once I said that I was okay with that, then he made the decision to run.
I had some of my friends reach out to me, including Portuguese, some of my Portuguese friends, and say, Bob, you should think about running for mayor. This is an opportunity. You have the experience, and your background, I think, would be fit perfectly here in this capacity. I sat down with my wife, I sat down with some friends, and we discussed it further, and then I decided, let's do it. It's a lot of work. It was a full-time job. So I was doing my job, and then every free moment I had, I was walking door to door, trying to meet people and talk to people, and having events at different locations to try to spread the message about what we stood for. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed the campaigning, I really do. But it was a lot of work. It all paid off. I had a great support group.
Não sabe quantos arroz doces que fiz. Travessas e travessas de arroz doce, porque ali ele gosta de falar para a sua campanha, ele gosta de pessoas da terceira idade. E, ele trabalhou muito, a gente também trabalhou. A gente fez o pôs, andámos com os senhos no dia da campanha. Eu gostei. Aquilo foi funny,
It's very exciting. It's almost like building a home. You get excited picking the things, and same thing with the campaign. Selecting the flyers, making the letterhead for something, or just preparing for everything.
The most difficult part of campaigns is trying to get money from people. I hate asking people for money. I hate asking people, to me, it's very difficult when I have to call somebody and say, hey, we have a fundraiser, would you mind coming? It's very difficult for me because I'm not the type of person that likes to put my hand out for money, right? It's just my style, right? But I realize that it is a necessity. If you're going to win a campaign, you need to have money to pay for mailings, you have to have money to pay for signs, you have to have money to pay for commercials and advertisements, stuff like that. I've been very lucky because we've had fundraisers. I have a list. I send out invitations, and I usually get a good response. For mayor, I spent, I'd have to look at the actual hard numbers. I think I was around $60-something thousand, if not more. And
close to 100.
And I used out of my own personal money, because what we do is we have to send our message into the homes. So we send out postcards with information about us on the back. We also did advertising in the local weekly paper and also in the monthly paper. But running at the local level, you count more on walking door to door. I did a lot of walking door to door. Lawn signs, those signs that you put up? Like we put out over 1,000 of those signs, and that helps. Because you know what happens? People start seeing the name over and over again, and they're like, oh, this guy, They see John Pacheco has a sign for Bob DaSilva. Joe Sorodio has a sign for Bob DaSilva. You know what? If John and Joe are supporting him, he might be a good guy. I'm going to vote for him.
Talking about the importance of money, cash.
Yeah.
Why we never had a congressperson on the East Coast, always from California. Money. Mark Pacheco, my friend from Taunton, Massachusetts, a few years ago, he wanted to run for the Congress. I spoke to him. I says, Mark, how much money have you raised? Close to $400,000. His opponent from Greek origin in Boston, he had over 5 million.
Yeah, that's a different world, yeah.
I says, Bob, stay home. Money is important.
Money is important. I believe being Portuguese American helped me in this election because we have a very strong Portuguese community here, very proud Portuguese community. I'm very proud of my heritage myself, and it's like anything else. I think being Portuguese helped me as a police officer. I used to get called to situations and they didn't speak a word of English. So it was really nice. It was very helpful for me to speak directly to them in their language so that they understood that I was there to help them. Same thing goes for running for mayor. You know, when I went door to door and I'm knocking on door to door, I'm coming across Portuguese residents and I speak directly to them and I ask them for their vote. And they know that they're going to be able to speak to me. You know, our first couple of weeks we were here, a Portuguese woman came into our office. She had a question about something. I spoke directly to her. She was like, oh my God, the mayor's talking to me in Portuguese, you know? Isso aqui é o presidente aqui. Hã? Hã? Bacalhau? Eu já comi bacalhau hoje também. Let me see. Nice to see you. How you doing?
Silva, it's my house.
Nice to see you guys. Take care. Have a great weekend. Yeah, I gotta come by and change my oil. I wouldn't say that all Portuguese people came out and voted for me just because I was Portuguese, but I would certainly say that when I'm able to connect with a person directly, that makes a big difference, as opposed to somebody who cannot connect with them. That certainly helped me in my election, absolutely. You know, I do miss coming by here. I gotta come by more often, but I've just been so busy, and I apologize. Nice seeing you. Nice seeing you. Take care. Don't cause no trouble. Portuguese people are hardworking people. They come to the country, they focus on finding a decent job, and they stick to those jobs pretty long term. If I look at my own parents, my father did 36 years, I believe, at one factory. My mother did many decades at another factory. They stick with that job for many decades and focus on providing a good life for their children, giving their children opportunities.
A primeira fábrica que eu fui era fazer roupa de criança, sabe? Depois de lá, estive trabalhando também numa outra fábrica que era de fazer linhas. Depois levei a layoff e de lá então trabalhei muitos anos numa fábrica de fazer coisas que se usavam nos hospitais. Essa fábrica foi muito boa para mim. Ganhávamos bem, muitos bons benefícios. E de lá ela também fechou. As fábricas todas foram fechando. Ela fechou e tinha 50 anos, sabe? E aí já fiquei em casa.
Eu comecei a trabalhar numa fábrica de fazer interruptores para casas.
Eletricidade.
E também era a comissão, coisa, quanto mais fizesse, mais ganhava. E é claro, nos primeiros anos o serviço era mais duro, não? A gente trabalhava muito. Mas em compensação a gente também poupava muito dinheiro o primeiro carro que eu comprei foi a cash e foi novo de fábrica. Emigrar aqui para a América valeu muito a pena para mim e não especialmente para a nossa família.
You know, as a police officer, 25 years, I've seen some kids who really were unlucky because they end up with parents who don't care for them, don't take care of themselves. They use drugs. They beat the kids. They do all kinds. And you know, you think about it, and when you get older, like I am now, you look at it and you're like, man, I did okay. You know, I did okay. For me, I wouldn't change anything. My parents are the best.
Quando eu tive o meu filho, eu fiquei em casa cerca de 5 meses. E depois arranjei uma babyceira. E eu fui trabalhar de dia, e ele também trabalhava de dia, deixava o pequeno com uma babyceira, mas eu não via que era assim uma coisa muito bem tratada, não sabe? E resolvemos trabalhar um de dia e outro de noite. Porque tínhamos que ir levar os pequenos à escola, tínhamos que ir buscar, não podia ser numa babyceira, tinha que ser agente. Eu começava 10 para as 7 e acabava 10 para as 3. Eu pegava no meu carro e vinha para casa, eu chegava à casa e ele já estava pronto para caminhar.
Quando ela chegava, a comidinha também já estava na mesa.
Ele cozinhava.
Sentava-se, comíamos e coisa, depois claro, ia para o meu trabalho e só vinha às 11h30 para casa.
The image of the Portuguese community has always been that of hardworking, dedicated people who are very faithful to their religion. They're very faithful to their families, hardworking, the type of people who come in and improve a community.
Quando eu cheguei aqui, o meu ordenado era $42 por semana. E eu fazia a conta e dizia, oh meu Deus, e eu ganhava lá 900 escudos por mês, quando eu vim para a América. Mas eu fiz a conta e disse, my God, 42 dólares por semana, eu não ganho isso lá num mês. A renda de casa, a primeira casa que fui morar era 40 dólares por mês de renda. E com 10 dólares eu fazia as minhas compras para a semana. Ia lá, fazia as minhas compras com muita fartura, era carnes, era tudo. 10 dólares, 15 dólares era um luxo, não? Veja lá a diferença. Quando eu trazia 42, ele trazia 55 ou coisa assim. That's why dava para a gente juntar dinheiro e fazer uma vida bonita. Que sempre tivemos, graças a Deus.
When I was a young kid, I remember they used to talk about world history, right? And they used to talk about Vasco da Gama. And I remember being a little Portuguese kid sitting in the thing. I was so proud. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, wow, the Portuguese used to rule the world. What is this? Think of how brave they were getting into those wooden ships with cloth, with canvas sails, right? And sailing into parts unknown. And that's just fascinating. And how smart to be able to navigate by the stars and then find their way back. And if you look at some of the maps that they made back then without any modern technology, that's just incredible.
So, Bob, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to interrupt. But you want to learn Portuguese, we should continue our conversation in Portuguese. You never learn. You don't speak English.
Vamos falar português. Vamos experimentar a falar português. A Moura dos Açores, com o estaque, tudo, you know. O estaque do Nordeste, não é? Vamos experimentar.
Isso aqui é tudo português. A gente vai às compras, é português. Trabalhar, era português. Os bolsas, era português. Como é que se pode aprender muito? O meu filho, quando foi para o Canigar, com 5 anos, ele não falava uma palavra de inglês. Era tudo português. E depois a gente exigia que eles falassem português em casa.
E são mesmo que está nos Açores. E são uma cidade de 50 e tal mil pessoas, 40% são dos Açores. Não é necessário. Não é necessário não é necessário aprender a língua portuguesa aqui. Eu ontem fui visitar o nosso primeiro presidente eleito, que nos honra muito. Gostei muito dele a esforçar-se a falar português, o nosso idioma, bem pronunciado mal, mas ele quer falar português.
Eu gostava de poder falar a maneira do meu amigo aqui, o João.
Não. O Bob, quando praticar, vai falar tão igual como ele.
Agora já não é o mesmo caso com os meus netos. Eu tenho que falar inglês com eles. Porque eles não percebem. Diz que percebem, não querem falar, não falam. É só inglês, só inglês.
I just had a rehearsal with my quintet today. So, yeah, always like running around for rehearsals. I like all sorts of music, so I guess we'll just see where my future takes me. I like to dabble in a lot of things, so.
So East Providence has always been a city manager form of government, and the way that works is we have 5 council people. Those 5 council people, all you need is a majority of 3 to select who the city manager would be, okay? And what happens is we used to have 2-year terms. The city manager couldn't get anything done because he was constantly being interfered with by the council and pulled in different directions. And the minute the city manager wanted to make a difficult decision, council people would reach out and change his direction. And we had, I believe, 5 different city managers in a short period of time, like maybe a 2-year period. And there was no leadership. Now we have a mayor. It's the first time we have a mayor that's elected directly by the people, so I answer directly to the people. My greatest desire is that after 4 years, people can look at this whole situation and say, you know what? It was the right thing to do to get a mayor. You know, we should have had a mayor a long time ago.
I am so honored that
we are hosting this for the very first time in 34 years. You know, it was really interesting when I heard that this was going to focus on the significant historical connection with sports in East Providence. And that was something dear to my heart because I've been involved in coaching sports. And I think that sports, along with other activities that you can offer your youth, really helps to develop them to be good human beings. A manager doesn't have to know every single job of every single division, how to do it. My job is being the coach. My job is to be the leader who directs where they're going to go. For instance, Jose Mourinho, right? He doesn't have to be the best place kicker. He doesn't have to be the best PK kicker. He doesn't have to be the best forward. But he knows the game. He knows what he sees, and he knows how to manage those people and put them where they have to be. It's affordable to live here. We're close to everything. 5 minutes away from work if you work in Providence. The benefits of living here in East Providence is that you almost have a small town feeling. You still have that safety and that sense of community. And it's one of the reasons why I moved into this community, because being a police officer, I wanted to move somewhere where I knew it was going to be a safe community and a good community to raise my family eventually.
You know, my friends would say, "Oh, you're the first lady now. Do we have to call you the first lady?" I'm like, "Please, no." No, they would joke around like that, but we're the same people. It's not. He's an employee of the city, really. He's doing what his job is, but it doesn't really change who we are.
I want to ensure that I have the least impact on the individual taxpayer's pocketbook, okay? Because I don't want to see big tax raises, big tax raises, big tax raises year after year to deal with what we're trying to build. The biggest challenge really with any community is being able to balance that budget so that we don't overspend and don't go out of control.
Ela tinha 4 anos, a irmã era pequenina, estava dormindo, e eu disse: "Oh, a tua irmã está dormindo, eu preciso de pão." E tínhamos uma padaria que não era muito longe, mas tinha que andar 2 blocos, enorme. Eu disse: "Oh, eu preciso de pão, mas eu não posso ir, que a menina está dormindo." Depois dali a bocado vejo o meu filho entrar com uma aviana, sabe aqueles pães grandes? Entra-me com a aviana e digo assim: "Filho, como é que tens isso?" "Oh, tu não disseste que precisavas de pão." Eu fui à beca e cheguei lá e disse assim: "A minha mãe precisa de pão, mas não tem dinheiro para pagar." E a senhora achou tanta graça que deu-lhe o pão, não sabe? Sempre foi muito smart, desde pequenino sempre foi muito smart.
This year, I will be taking a trip to the Azores. I'm ashamed to say that this will be my first visit to Portugal, and the reason being, I was never a big fan of flying. I know, don't tell anybody. So the idea of flying over the Atlantic Ocean, you know, gives me nightmares, but I think we'll be okay. I'm going to take a couple of Dramamine, I'll be all set. But I'm really excited about going to visit my mother's hometown, where she was raised, my father's hometown.
O Bobby não é muito de viajar. É uma pessoa que não é, diz assim: "Oh, eu gosto muito de andar de avião." Ele não é muito disto, não. Mas ele agora está muito entusiasmado de ir. Vamos de visita, mas não era para viver lá. Estou mais anos aqui que eu estive lá. Isto aqui é a minha terra. Enorme. Eu gosto, não digo que não gosto de meus Açores, caralho. São Miguel é lindíssimo. Os Açores todos.
I can't wait. I particularly want to see if the hydrangeas are as pretty as they are in pictures. Because I can't believe it. It's got to be like, no, I don't believe that they look that good.
Sauce comes with
The egg? Okay, I'll take that. Isso é tiro de bacalhau, isso é tiro de bacalhau. Oh. Yeah, I know.
Sexta-feira, vai comprar um salada, right? It's Friday.
Oh,
é verdade. Ei, é preciso bacalhau também, hoje é Friday. Esqueci-me. É, ainda bacalhau. Yeah.
Especial, ou grelhado, ou na telha? Vá para o grelhado.
Grelhado, go with grelhado. Try the grelhado. I got one guy telling me grelado. Which one?
Na telha.
Na telha? É melhor? É ver os viu comer o meu amigo. Deixa eu ver, vamos ver. Se não gostar, é para ficar um bocadinho de telha. É só.
O bacalhau na grelha tem menos espinhas.
Oh, good. Good.
Não se diz a ele.
Não se diz a ele. Cheers.